Hello, friends. I'm no therapist, but I'm your host, Stephanie Goodman. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a woman of faith. Often friends ask me how I have a successful marriage while blending families and staying optimistic in life. This podcast features people with real life stories about success in relationships and triumph over trial. Why is it that when we make a bucket list for the new year, sometimes the only thing we achieve is getting the bucket? In this episode, Kels and I talk about the realistic side of goal setting. Welcome back, friends, to another edition of I'm no therapist, but we're going to talk about...
Did you like that?
I totally did. Loved it. It's great.
Sorry.
It's almost like we practiced it.
Yeah, like we've done it before.
Like deja vu.
I like deja vu. So, deja vu.
Deja vu.
Okay, you're going to start this off tonight.
Let's do this.
Mrs. Goodman. So
Kels and I were talking about our New Year's traditions and what are some things that we feel make our traditions enjoyable, both for our family and for ourselves and for our relationship, right?
Yeah.
And also, we talked about goal setting.
Yeah.
Oh, dreaded goal setting.
Dreaded. Goal setting is dreadful. It can be. I've been one of those that has been a victim, I guess if you want to call it that, a victim of goal setting. And meaning every December 31st, you sit there and you go, okay, this year, this is the year. This is my year. And a lot of that comes from
life coaches.
Yeah, life coaches or anything like motivators,
speakers.
Yeah, the motivational people when they're like, you can do it. You can do this, man. I'm telling you. And so when
and here's the secret.
And I'm going to show you the secret of doing it. And so for years, every once in a while, I would hear, how, they're successful, obviously. So I should listen to them and hear what they have to say. And that's why I would never necessarily badmouth those who are motivational types. I just know that there is a reason why there are those who are motivated and those who are not. There's a reason for that. And that's just always going to be unless you change. So I would get irritated by, the whole concept of, okay, it's December 31st. And so the next day I'm going to the gym and that's it, right? Because that's when they say that the highest amount of gym memberships are in January or at the end of December, because like we're talking about getting a gym membership, but it has nothing to do with it being December 31st. I promise you. It's just whenever, but somehow that's this magical date, January 1st. I'm going to change. I'm going to quit drinking soda. I'm going to stop eating crap. I'm going to lose weight, whatever it is, whatever that, and that's all, those are the cliche goals, goal settings that always seem to happen.
And you're speaking from a personal point of view, not that you're...
Oh, no, I don't know what you're saying.
I know that I have heard that so many times. Yeah. That's it. No more Pepsi for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop drinking Pepsi. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to lose weight, which is great. Those are good goals to set.
But I don't say that on December 31st. I don't say that's just every once in a while. I'm like, man, I should quit Pepsi. Maybe I could. And occasionally, like this week was actually a really good week. Last week, I drank, I think, one soda all last week. And the rest of it, there's this other drink called zevia, because soda's my evil enemy. Okay.
This section of our video is not sponsored by anything.
No.
put that out there.
Not buy Pepsi Zero or nothing. So, but because I started drinking Pepsi Zero and I started liking it. But then, it has aspartame in it, and it's really not necessarily good for me. And being a man my age, I need to start watching more, what I eat and things like that. But, so I zevia was something that the greensmoothiegirl, if anybody's ever heard of her, you can look her up, greensmoothiegirl.com. She's actually a friend of ours. Her name is Robin Openshaw. She's very awesome when it comes to food, and she does things on a raw based thing, but she works really hard to know that you're not going to jump into eating raw to help cure cancer, but you're going to do things on a step by step. And one of those steps is to stop drinking soda and to find a replacement. So zevia starts with a Z. Zevia is actually my drink of choice now because it contains nothing but soda water and stevia. That's why they call it that, because stevia is actually is a better sugar. It's a better for you. I don't know what it's made of exactly, but I hear it's better. So anyway, so that's one choice that I know that I can do because I've done it and it's realistic. So all this week I chose Sunday today's Sunday. So last Sunday I said I want to try to start at least getting off of soda and having some green drinks. So I made a few green drinks this week. Lasted about 3 days, but so I did get, my friend Bruce told me, here's how you make these drinks. So I make the spinach drinks and with these seeds in it
using
and stuff.
The blendtec blender.
Yeah, using the blendtec blender and but I did lay off a soda, and I had many opportunities to get a soda and chose against it. So
that's a big win when you have the opportunity to choose a soda and you chose otherwise.
Correct.
You're practicing that self willpower.
That's right. So all I wanted to do is start. My feeling on this is to just get the cliches out of the way, of it's the new year. We're gonna change the world. We're gonna do something. This is it, man. This is my year.
This is the year I get married.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. This is the year I land that job. This is the year, and for my sake, this is the year I make that movie. Or this is the year, we're going to get a new house or whatever. We're going to fix, and I think a lot of it surrounds health and the way we look and things like that. And we have to start thinking realistic, because this gets wearing. I think it's part of what disappoints people. Again, I'm no therapist, but I can just assume that if you are not going to do it, then stop making New Year's this. Stop fooling yourself. That's just me. I'm not saying,
and I think,
vote for less, but
I think that you're going to a space of, New Year's goals can, if you do it properly for the right intentions, then it can be a positive thing. But when you set your goals up to only be started on January 1st of the next year, you are setting yourself up for disappointment.
Correct. Yeah.
And disappointment brings pain, and pain brings sadness and depression. We want to kind of share some tips with you today that help you to not set yourself for those kind of letdowns.
That's right. So, I think if you do decide to set a goal and say, I'm going to set a goal for the new year. Really what that means is that you are going to make a change. So that's actually what I think we're really going to get into, is actually the word change. Is that because if you're going to do something, if you're going to lose weight, go to the gym, stop eating, drinking soda, stop doing whatever it is, or start doing whatever it is, anything, whether it be in the positive or in the negative, it requires change. So something has to change if you're going to do it. And so we're going to beat it out of you as an audience. No, just kidding. But but it requires change. Don't you think, Stephanie?
Yeah. And we were talking about this earlier to really kind of discover what is it that brings us to a point of change.
Yeah. That's, what because everybody, all of us have had to make a change in something. And that, I think, is what's important for us to go to. What in your life, what did you change? There was something that you had to change, and maybe before you made that change, it didn't dawn on you, oh, I'm going to make a change. It was something that happened, and then afterwards you went, oh my gosh, I changed.
Yeah.
It wasn't subconscious. It was I guess it was subconscious, but it wasn't a conscious decision. Yeah. It was just something that you're like, oh yeah, I think, look at that. I changed that. And so now I think it's important for us to go back and look at what made something change in our life and conform that changing ability to the future. So
I like that a lot. To practice allowing change to happen.
Correct.
And not just on New Year's Day.
That's right. So forget the date, drop the date. Don't worry about New Year's Day. In fact, I think the first goal would be to not let January 1st be the be all end all of dates for you to change, because that only gives you so many days out of your life to say, okay, this year is it. And then, oh, well, screw it. I'll wait till next year. No, you've got to start thinking weekly, monthly, daily, change on a daily basis in an effort to beat that hole of I'm doing the same thing. It's got to be different in an effort to better ourselves, because it doesn't matter. There's no date that makes you do anything.
No, we're not saying not to have goals.
Correct. You've got to have goals. You're right.
We're not saying to not have intentions, right?
That's right.
But I want to say I have had some experiences. I have a vision board. I have goals, but I have learned to not use the word goal.
Interesting.
Do you know what I use?
What do you use?
I use the word experiences.
I like that. I think that's great. I think that's awesome.
I'm setting myself up for experiences, and this is the kind of experiences that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that's right. And that's true, because that's what it comes down to, is your experience. Yeah, and I agree, and I don't mean to harp on the goals. Again, I am not saying don't have goals, because you got to have something. You got to have something to shoot for.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a shoot for the stars, land on the moon kind of guy, because if you at least get on the moon, you got off the planet, so that's pretty good, right? So
that's pretty good.
I thought of that myself just now. So thank you very much.
That's a good one. So we were talking earlier about the differences of choices, right?
Yeah.
And I believe that there is kind of a formula to setting intentions.
Yeah.
We can set intentions that are spiritual and physical and mental and financial. Like those are your main course of interest that we all have in our life, right?
Correct. That's right. Yeah, and I think, and those are actually the things that a lot of people do when it comes to their their goal is, it usually starts as financial, but then that also goes into physical, and then ultimately into spiritual. And I think everybody's at a different order. That's one of the reasons why I feel like you need to, self-help people can tell you this is how you do goals, but it really comes down to the individual. Because if you are going to change, if you're going to do something different, to have these experiences, it's going to be based on you. It's going to based on me, based on us individually, because we all do it differently.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm glad you call them experiences.
Well, and we also want to talk about what is the difference between wants and needs, right?
Yeah.
With the want, this is something that I want in my life versus a need. And a lot of the times when there's a need, there is a natural drive for you to get things done, for you to get things in place the way that you need to. For instance, I think my experience with having a need was when I had gestational diabetes.
Oh yeah, that's an incredible example. Tell us that experience.
So when I was pregnant with all three of my children, actually, but mostly my first, I got the news that I had gestational diabetes. And this meant that while I was pregnant, I would have the diabetes. And I did get to a place where I was having to take 3 shots of insulin a day. And it was amazing to me to look back and see that story and see how willing I was to take those insulin shots, to be restricted on 2 soda crackers a night and 1 cup of milk, to determine if I'm going to use that 1 cup of milk for breakfast or 1 cup of milk for lunch or dinner, whatever it was. And I think when I look back on that time, I can see that there was a reason for it. Yeah. It was a need because I was growing an individual inside of me.
That sounds like our COVID diet. So did you have to take the shots yourself?
I did have to give them to myself.
Oh, that would just be...
And I did.
That would just be scary.
The shots in my stomach, and I got really good at it. Yeah. If I had diabetes now, I don't know that I would be so disciplined because it's not for anyone else but me. Yeah. You know?
Well, and what we're seeing an example of something you had to do because somebody else was reliant on it. And there's also a level of pain attached to that.
That is so true.
Something that's it's sad that you have to change during pain, but at least you do. I think the ultimate goal for all of us is, and this is kind of crazy, and I think this is even scriptural, is to be able to change before the pain. If you make a change before pain comes, then that's almost a miracle, because then you didn't have to rely on something making you do something, and until something points a gun at you, or your health becomes poor, or something happens to where it's like, okay, I'll do it, I'll pay the price.
So that brings me to the question of, what did you experience that gave you the opportunity and the drive to change?
Well, I think the drive is an important. Here's a non. Okay, all right. I this will be one. We'll go into this one because there's a couple of moments that I remember being moved, and one of them was obviously after I was divorced, and we're going to dive into the divorce discussion when it comes to change, but I remember when I got divorced. I was always religious to a degree. I was always, very active in my faith. But I leaned on wife number one for a lot of that activity. And then when that changed, when wife number one chose not to be religious anymore and change a little bit of what she was doing, which I respected, and then I'm alone, then we're divorced and I'm alone. That it's funny how that always seems to kind of go together, is whenever there's a divorce, it always, religion always seems to be this driving force, either for or against. And in a lot of cases, at least, you can see statistically in our faith, you'll see religion, very rarely will two people divorce, separate, and they're both still in the faith. There's always one that seems to drop out, or both seems to drop out. And that because sometimes the faith,
it's tested.
Yeah, it's a tested thing, and it's and then sometimes we fail. We lose because, oh, look, I'm off the hook. I'm off the dole. I don't have to go to church anymore because my spouse isn't making me, and la da 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 da. And
or maybe you're mad at God. You're mad at God because you did everything you thought was going to solidify a happily ever after in your relationship, right?
Yeah, because marriage is so religious. Maybe I should say that. Is that being married has always, from the beginning of time, been a religious ceremony. It's always been a religious thing. Over the years, it's gotten more secular, to where you don't have to be religious and you can be married or whatever. But from the beginning of time, and what I'm talking about is Adam and Eve time, marriage was always sort of part of a religious thing. So when that happened, I remember I had a choice to make. Am I in this church or am I not in this church? Because I could have run away. I could have said, I'm done. I got better things to do. Or, the pool selection of girls to date, maybe not in the faith. I don't know. It's hard to tell. And so I had to make a decision. And I felt like I chose to stay in the faith. And in some cases, I felt like I was stronger because I didn't have that partner to lean on, to rely on. And so I considered my faith to really kick in after I got divorced.
Did you have a place where you felt like the world owed you?
Oh yeah. And that's part of why I married the second time. Part of why I had married the second time with my second wife was I felt like I was owed. Yeah, I totally did. I totally thought that, my ex-wife did me wrong, so I'm totally owed something. But that was totally the wrong way to go about it. And it was, I will just testify to this day that after I got divorced from my first wife, I did not act the best way I should have. And I don't mean necessarily morally. I mean more on the sense of my thinking was not clear. And it wasn't.
You were acting from a place of hurt.
Yeah. I was totally acting from a place of hurt, and felt like the world owed me, and should have just calmed down and been, and we've talked about this before and we won't dive too heavy into this, but we've talked about before where the church is really good at holding your hand all the way to the altar to get married. But when it comes to divorce, you're kind of on your own. Yeah. And there's not a lot of resources for you as a single person who's in your 30s and you're trying again. And so there's a lot of rules and things. Well, that's another podcast that we've done before, but
I will say also a divorce is really one of those key factors that is a game changer. And it is painful and you desire to change. Sometimes when we get to that space of I'm divorced now, suddenly we want to take care of our bodies. Suddenly we care about how we look. These are things that could have been done while we were married.
Yeah, that's a good point. Divorce really can be, what did we call it? We called it like a crossroads.
Crossroads.
Yeah, you're at a
divorce is a crossroads.
It's a faith crossroads point.
Creator.
Yeah, a crossroads creator. What that means is now it's time for you to decide, who am I? Because, when you're divorced, all of a sudden you've got time on your hands. All of a sudden you're kind of free, but you're not, because
you also start thinking about what could I have done differently?
Yeah.
How did I do my part in making this relationship not work? How could I have done it differently?
Yeah, because then what I remember doing after being divorced was, I remember looking at myself going, okay, what do I need to change? I'm now in pain, or I went through pain. There's that pain that we talked about. Now I need to change. What is it do I need to do to make this change? And because I want it, if I were to date again, I would want to do it right. I would want the right person, the right, to be with. And am I in the right frame of mind? Have I done everything I can to be ready to date again? And so anyway, those are just some good questions, I think, that I remember as far as change. Change can be, I think it's always, when it comes to goal setting, it's always good to ask the question, what made me go do something? What is making you go lose that weight? What is making you go and change that diet?
What is your why?
Yeah, what is your why? That's right. What makes us change? What makes us move to say it's now time to go? And obviously, we've listed a few things, and the first thing, of course, being pain. Pain is one thing that makes us, get off our duffs and go do something. Oh yeah, I better change. Or life changes.
Yes.
Like a divorce.
Yep.
Right. So
life is definitely changing, and I think a lot of the times too, we're not realizing how much we're changing. And that's involuntary. That's just natural experiences and circumstances have got us changing.
Yeah, that's right. So, and then of course there's interest.
And it's different for everyone, for everyone's circumstances.
That's right.
Maybe my desire is not your desire. I have no desire whatsoever to jump out of a plane.
That's interest-based. Yeah, definitely.
I do have a desire to go parasailing.
Yeah.
Or parachuting. Those are two things that I have a desire for, whereas I know many of my friends don't have a desire for that.
Yeah. Oh, and we love parasailing. So maybe one day we'll do an episode while we're parasailing. We'll just stick our GoPros on and just sit up there, and it would be awesome. So
that would be amazing to be up there, up in the sky, seeing the water down below. We could totally do a podcast. What do you think? Give us comments. Let us know if you dare Stephanie and Kels to do a podcast where parasailing on South Padre Island.
Woohoo! Yeah, we love South Padre Island. So we'll be doing a podcast from South Padre for sure.
For sure.
That's right.
Okay, that made me really excited, and that is definitely an intention that I'm going to embrace. Speaking of intention, do you know that what we're doing right now is an intention that I have put out on my vision board for 3 years now?
That's right. That's right.
Being able to have a podcast I had no idea it was going to be shared with my best friend, and I'm so grateful for his willingness to see my vision and to make the means happen through electronics, through setting up, through behind the scenes. No cussing allowed, right?
What? Oh, yeah, not today. No.
I give him a hard time. But I do want to emphasize the fact that what we're doing right now is a dream come true for me. And I want to give gratitude to my friends and my family that have supported me, and especially my best friend.
Oh, I love my best friend. She is awesome. And one thing that I've got to say is I know that, we've done 16 now podcasts by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
And this was kind of a goal. And I kept telling Stephanie, I'm not a podcaster, I'm a filmmaker. There is a big difference, even though it's simpler, technically, but it's not. And so... So, yeah, that's why she says, and the cussing, right? No cussing.
No cussing.
No cussing.
No cussing allowed.
That's right.
No cussing allowed behind the scenes of setting up podcasts.
And there never is. But anyway, no, but it just comes down to, the other thing is, we know that these first, 16 or so episodes that, we don't have big numbers. We don't have a lot of views, or we don't have a lot of clicks or likes, but they're meaningful.
Oh, sure we do.
Yeah, but they're meaningful. They're fulfilling, and they are growing. So that's what's important. In other words, what I'm saying is you don't give up in defeat if just a handful of people are actually watching. So
well, and I love to think about the fact that for 3 years this was a dream of mine. And talk about change, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm now doing this. I am a podcaster.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
So where is that with the magic of setting the intention and the goal?
Yeah, well, you know what? I think what you've done with starting this is beyond, is one of those places you want to be in, mm-hmm. where it wasn't something that made you do it. You weren't there wasn't a boss saying, Stephanie, you better get podcasting or I'm going to fire you.
True.
Or there wasn't anything about your health. It was something that you just simply wanted to do, and it desired it before it left you, before, went, oh, well, that was then. That's, it's like my dream has always been to play drums. Okay. I've loved drums, and I've played them, and I've been in a few bands over the years, but never anything real serious like my friend Bob, who's a serious drummer, who's really good and is in a band and has been in bands over the years and practices every day, and it lives and breathes and eats drums. But, but I just, but I never could do it. And I could play, and I still, tinker, but it's not serious enough,
There's not enough pain that's driving you to be eating, sleeping, and as you said, what is it you said?
Drinking, eating, sleeping, and drinking drums. So I know that's kind of, but it's but for you, it was just more the interest. I think the interest was what got you, and also you have a desire to help people, learn things that you've learned.
Yeah.
And bring other people in. And it's just, you just got to do it in an organized fashion. And that's always the hardest part. It's that next step of organized. How does it look? And you put it out, and, and then you got to start driving traffic. So it's always a challenge. And so once you get over that kind of, it's like writing a book. How many people have a book, which is another goal for a lot of people? I remember hearing numerous people saying, oh yeah, next year I'm going to finish that book. And it's like, yeah, but you know what hurts people is that technical step to go, okay, I have all these notes, because I have a book that I've been writing for years, but I don't know if I'll ever get it finished. It'll just be notes on paper. It's that step to go from the mush to forming it into that thing. You see,
to giving birth to,
because it's that
the creation
step
of it.
Yeah, it's easy to sit and type words, but where does it go now? Where do I stick it? And you don't know where to stick it. And so podcasting is the same thing. We can sit and record a podcast, but where do I stick it so that everybody can hear it? How does it look? How does it feel? And those are all things you have to think about. That usually stops people. That's usually the brick wall.
Yeah, that's true. That's when you really have to rely on your faith of believing that this is possible.
That's right. So
I want to tie this a little bit into intentions for relationships.
Awesome.
Because I know my own personal experience when I was divorced, and I was on many 6
dating sites.
different dating sites.
That's so funny.
That it was my intention to meet my husband. I did not want to raise my young children alone. I felt it was important that they had a good influence, a good father in their life, on the level that I felt was important in a relationship. They did have a father. I'm not taking that away from him at all. But I knew that I had a lot to give to a relationship, and I wanted to give it to the right kind of relationship. Did I know that I was going to meet a Kels Goodman?
No. Oh, you want me to raise your kids? Oh, okay, that's fine. Just kidding. No, it's
evil plan.
Her evil plan was to meet me. So
yeah, my evil plan.
Your evil plan.
Indeed, and it's worked out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Where I'm going with that, though, is I distinctly remember the changes that I made through the pain that I experienced that helped me to make my intentions a reality. If you look back in the scriptures, in the Bible, it talks about the creation of the world. And what I think is fascinating is the fact that it was created spiritually first and then brought into the physical.
That's right. That's definitely a doctrine that maybe not all Christian faiths agree with or understand, maybe, but you do go straight out of King James version of the Bible, and there is, obviously it can be reinterpreted, but we feel that Mormon doctrine tells us that everything is created spiritually first and then physically afterwards. Kind of a blueprint, kind of like a script for a movie. You imagine it's up here first and you see it and you can visualize it, and then it's there. Now it's physically being created. Just like that.
Right, exactly. And I love the process of watching you create a movie. I see that you have it in your mind. You can picture it. And this is what you tell me. I can picture it like this. Yeah. And I can see it over here. And I can see this character doing this. And I can see us using this view or maybe this kind of background, right?
That's right.
You go through that process and then you put it into reality on the paper.
That's right. Stick it on.
So have the dream. Now you're taking it into action. You're putting it on paper.
Yeah. Stick it on paper, and then eventually you stick it on film.
Yeah.
So make it.
And you also have to find the people that will bring your words to life and be able to portray the emotions that you want.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with that is intentions are so much more powerful than goals. And the way that they become more powerful than goals is through feelulizing.
Feelulizing. Wow, that's a new term. That's an official therapist term, isn't it?
It is in my world.
Because remember, we're no therapists. But hey, sometimes you just got to say it like it is. And so good job, Stephanie.
So what do you think I mean by feelulize?
I would imagine that means the transfer from the mind to the body. That's what I would assume.
That's exactly right. Visualizing it, but also feeling it is what makes it come about. So back to my story of bringing this amazing hunk into my life. Oh yeah, let's get a close-up of that.
Thanks.
I distinctly remember writing down on a piece of paper, and I still have it, the qualities that I wanted to look for and find in future spouse. I have that on my list. And when I would go on a date, I would look visually and spiritually to see, do they have these qualities? And if they didn't, I did see the things that I enjoyed, or maybe something else came up that I said, oh, I really like this, and I would like to have this in my relationship. So none of my relationships that I had as a single person went to waste.
Yeah.
They all helped me to feelulize what it was that I wanted as a spouse in my life. Then there was the physical part. And I've recently shared with you some of the secrets that happened in my life while I was preparing to receive you.
I think it came in 3 words. It was tall, dark, and handsome. I think that's what it was.
Superman.
That's my thinking. Yeah. Muscular. Yeah, I think that was the other one.
So here I have a vision. I've written it down. And now I'm going to imagine. So Kels he'll take his hands up like this, and he'll look around the room, and he'll use his hand to see where the light is, and he visualizes what things are going to look like and what it's going to feel like, right?
Oh, yeah.
So taking this into my world, I remember sitting in the car, and when a song would come on, I had the choice to let it make me be weepy because of the fact that I wasn't in a marriage, I wasn't in love. I had the opportunity to change that to be dedicated to me, and maybe I'll go into that a little bit. So there's a song on the radio that came on, and this is kind of a trigger for Kels. and it's a dear place for me.
I think we all have songs that are triggers.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And those triggers are formed because of the pain that you experienced in association to that.
Correct. Yeah.
And I respect that this song that I'm talking about is a tender trigger for you.
That's correct. So,
what song
are we talking about, Steph?
For me, this song, "You Are My Inspiration" by Chicago.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Was a saving grace for me because I learned to dedicate those songs to me.
Yeah.
You are my inspiration. Also, the other one that I really enjoy still is God Bless the Broken Road That Led You Straight to Me.
Yes.
Because I know my experiences in life is what brought me to this place. And I can look back at even the skinned knees of the bumpy roads and realize it's okay because it was part of my story. So dedicating a song to me helped me to realize that I can be loved. If there was a song about love and it hurt, it's like in the movies when somebody has like a fire that burned things down and they sit in the radio and they turn the knob and every song is about a fire, right? Right?
I think that happened in Better Off Dead. About the breakup where if you remember that scene. Yeah, I remember that.
Or what, bedtime stories, I think, with Adam Sandler.
Oh, that was funny. Oh yeah, everything's about fire.
Yes. So. Well, when you're in a space of suddenly I'm single, there are certain things that you feel differently about.
Yeah.
And can be triggering for you when they had no power in that direction before. So when you're divorced and you're in a tender space, I learned how to dedicate songs to me and fall in love again with me. Because how was I going to be able to give love when I had no love inside of my own heart, right?
That's right.
So I would drive around and enjoy this music, and Chicago, You're My Inspiration would come on. And when I learned to harmonize, I really enjoyed that song. And another thing that I would do is when I was driving, I would pretend that my husband was next to me.
Oh, that's so cute.
I would reach out and touch his hand and be so grateful that he was mine and I didn't have to go dating anymore. And
my hero.
Yes. I packed pillows in my bed so I could lean my back up against something that felt like I wasn't alone. I made room for that certain spouse in my closet. Like, these are physical things that I did in opening myself up to receiving that gift and that goal.
There's definitely a reality to that concept, because I've heard that concept for many years. Earl Nightingale and others who
Yes.
are self-help people, and there is something to opening that door, saying, I'm now ready to receive this thing that I've done all the work I can, the goal setting, putting it together, and now enter in, whether it be
I'm open to receive.
Yeah, I'm open to receive, and I am looking. There is a power to that somehow, almost. I mean, I'm sure for those who are religious, God would probably be a part of that power, to saying, I'm going to, I want to be married, and so I'm going to act like I'm going to be married, because that's part of receiving. So yeah, there certainly is a power to that I've heard, and there's a lot of self-help stuff that I don't necessarily listen to or agree with or can relate to, but that is one that that I totally understand and believe in. So
along that line, I know that your creating movies is very similar to that. My illustrating children's books is very similar to that. We visualize it and we see it happening, and we're willing to take the physical steps to do it. Instead of wishing for a fire and hoping and knowing and believing that there's going to be a fire and I can feel it so hot and warm. But what am I doing to make it happen?
Yeah.
There's a difference.
That's right. That's right.
And I think that's the difference with goal setting and intention setting. Desiring the experience.
Yeah.
Do you want to share with our audience about your trigger?
Oh yeah. So here's a little side note. You can skip forward if you want listening to this podcast for about 15 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever. So here's my trigger with "You're the Inspiration." Okay. There's nothing wrong with the song. It's wonderful. It's Chicago, whatever. But the thing is that
and it's a beautiful song, Kels Goodman.
Oh, it's totally
a beautiful song.
It's totally beautiful. But, when I was serving my mission for the church, now when you're on a mission, you're not allowed to have pretty much most music unless it's religious music. And, no rock music or anything, which was tough for me for 2 years, but I sacrificed. Wink. But, but I had a companion, bless his heart, and we're friends now, I guess. I haven't heard from him since the mission. And this is 35 years ago. But he came and he came on his mission strictly because he flat out told me, I am here because my girlfriend won't marry me unless I served a mission. So I'm just serving my mission. I'm not going to teach anything. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just along for the ride. And I was just like, oh, goodness. But he had his cassette player and he had his headphones. And we rode the long streets of Mississippi on and off from one place to the next. And I said, you keep those headphones on because I don't want to be hearing music. And so he would put the headphones on, but that thing was so blasted loud, I could still hear it. And it was Chicago. He had 2 cassettes, and one of them was Chicago. I forgot what the other one was. So I could hear "You're the Inspiration" going on while he's missing his girlfriend. He'd have his picture of his girlfriend by his side and, spent 2 years away.
He was focused on the work,
He was totally not focused on the work. And so that's the trigger for me for "You're the Inspiration." It has nothing to do with anything like I'm, missing a loved one or I'm on a breakup or anything. It's just, it was
or that you
an
don't,
irritable mission companion. So
or that you don't respect my choice of song.
Correct. Oh yeah, that's right.
And you know that when I'm listening to that song, it's not meant to be painful for you.
Correct. Yeah, it has nothing to do. I totally agree. It has nothing to do with whether you're not hurting me by listening to it. I get it. So,
and that's another thing that makes our relationship work is that we have that respect. This is obviously something that I could use against you.
That's true. And then I would just belt it out off key, "You're the inspiration." And then Stephanie would be like, "Oh, shut up. You're ruining it for me."
It's so true. You don't know that this was a saving grace for me. Why would you be so cruel about it? It's it's something that we have to agree, though we're not going to agree. What is that? Agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
Indeed. So to recap, we've talked about goals. We've talked about why they don't work.
That's right.
We've talked about setting intentions instead. We've talked about looking at your life spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, and setting goals for bettering ourselves. And also seeing that in doing that, maybe we're bettering our relationship. We've also talked about visualizing or feelulizing.
Yeah.
Feelulize your intentions.
And also and I'm not poo-pooing on goals. I'm just saying make them realistic and do them according to your history, according to your habit, and be realistic. But if you've changed over anything, remember, why did you change then, and what's going to make you change now? I ask that of myself all the time. And, money is one of those ones where I go, I've been broke before as a married person, and it was no fun, and it was painful. And I remember thinking, I am never going to be broke again. And I've been working so hard to not be broke. Just little things like that help you, hopefully in goal setting, being realistic and not just, not never goal setting, but making sure when you do it, that it's a realistic situation, especially if you are married or if you're looking to be married, to making sure that, because that's where it becomes painful sometimes, because, you want to be happy, don't you? So do those things that are going to help you be happy.
And maybe for you, setting the intention of being in a marriage is not right for you, and you need to respect that. You need to know that this is what works for you, and give yourself grace. If you've enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe, share, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Please comment, because I would love to hear about what you think and what you want to see in the future. I'm no therapist, but I am your host, Stephanie Goodman.